Hi there, hope you're doing well and enjoying the summer. Welcome to another episode of Anirban in Conversation with Industry Experts. Today's topic is chatbot. While most of you are familiar with chatbots, but many of you probably find it very technical that needs specialist skills. But is it true? That is the topic of discussion for today's interview. We're going to talk about KLoBot, which is a do-it-yourself, no-code chatbot builder platform. And we have been joined by our guest today, Ragav Jagannathan, who is the President and Group CEO of KL Software Technologies. So welcome, Ragav. It's good to have you on our show today. Let's start with a brief introduction.
Sure. My name is Ragav Jagannathan. I am an IT entrepreneur and I've been in the industry for around 20 plus years. Focused primarily on artificial intelligence powered software products. I own a couple of companies, KL Software Technologies, which is a global software and services company based out of New York with offices in New Jersey, New York, and Sydney, Australia, and India. And I also own a software company based out of New Jersey called KLoBot Inc., which focuses on creating artificial intelligence powered products.
Today's topic is chatbots, and you've got this product called KLoBot. What exactly is KLoBot?
Yeah, so the market basically is there's a huge demand for looking at like virtual assistants and basically artificial intelligence powered software bots that can basically address human needs, especially in the remote working environment we live in with COVID and everything. The idea is to create basically software robots that can answer questions anywhere, anytime, securely on any device, on any channel, like a channel. By channel, I mean, say SharePoint or Teams or Slack or any of these remote working tools we use, even Zoom for that matter. So basically, KLoBot is a software that creates or helps you create as a business software robots or chatbots, as we call them, that can be literally created using a drag and drop user interface without a single line of code. So it's designed for non-technical people to create and launch chatbots that can be used on any of these platforms I talked about, primarily designed for remote workers. So basically the idea is that most of the remote worker tools people use, like Slack, Teams, and so on I talked about. The bot can be easily built in KLoBot that addresses your business need. Might be something to do with your new employee induction. How do you onboard an employee in this crazy world we live in, right? So a chatbot can be trained and designed in KLoBot to handle new employee induction, including signatures using DocuSign and all the stuff that KLoBot can handle. And then you deploy that onto your intranet. That intranet can be powered by a WebSphere, IBM WebSphere portal or a SharePoint portal or any of the portal that you might have. Our Teams, for that matter, Microsoft Teams or Slack or any of the remote working tools that you use. So KLoBot, in a nutshell, is a do-it-yourself, no-code chatbot builder platform that can be used for creating chatbots.
I think these are some great examples that you shared with us. Let's talk about certain scenarios. Why would a company be compelled to go and start creating their own chatbots using your technology?
So the market is ripe. I mean, Gartner predicts the chatbot industry to exponentially grow over the next 5 years. In terms of the demand for chatbot artificial intelligence enabled solutions, one of the key drivers, and the driver has gone on like a rocket speed at the moment because of the pandemic. One of the key drivers that chatbot does or enables a business to do is somewhat decouple all those complexities that you have in your applications in the background. Like, for example, you might use a very sophisticated payroll platform, HR payroll platform. You might use a very sophisticated order management system in SAP. Or you might be using a number of different line of business platforms for Microsoft, say Microsoft CRM or Salesforce, customer relationship management systems. Or you might have a very sophisticated support ticket management process on ServiceNow, for example. You might have a business has many applications, right? With KLoBot, what KLoBot lets you do is create a chatbot experience for these remote workers where the remote worker doesn't need to understand the details of how these applications work. What they focus on is a very simple chat UI, which is accessible on Teams or Slack or SharePoint. They literally click it open and use their voice or text to ask simple questions like, hey, KLoBot, how much leave do I have? And KLoBot might come back and say, oh, you know what, you have 5 leave left. Do you wish to apply now? And the user says, sure, can you apply for a leave tomorrow? And the reason is personal. And the bot seamlessly goes and updates in the background, that application that might be an SAP Concur application, might be some other HR portal platform like ADP or whatever sophisticated platform you're using, the KLoBot built chatbot will do that for you. So KLoBot has two purposes. One of the key two reasons why businesses use KLoBot to build chatbots are, one, to act as a virtual assistant, kind of an extension of that employee so that the bot can do things on your behalf. And the other is to basically use as a support channel. For example, hey, my laptop is broken. Okay, so KLoBot jumps in and helps out the customer. Oh, have you tried this? Have you tried restarting the laptop? Have you done this and done that? And if the customer still says, sorry, it's not working, the bot basically starts a support process in ServiceNow automatically and then engages a live person to help this person out. So all of a sudden, the bot becomes the entry point for anything that is collaboration, communication within an enterprise, and just simplifies the whole idea or simplifies the whole process of just doing things, because most of the enterprises suffer from like 30, 40 applications. Or if you want to apply for leave, go here. If you want to do this, go there. With a chatbot, you just go to the chatbot and it does things for you. And that's the idea. Most of the organizations adapt KLoBot to create chatbots because of these reasons.
That's really interesting. So what particular place does an organization start with if they want to start with a KLoBot journey?
Typical projects of KLoBot starts with IDing like the most simplest business use case that you want to automate. The biggest adoption of KLoBot happens in support. So especially in this kind of crazy situations, I'm sitting at home, I'm not in my office, and I want a quick answer. I'm trying to reach my team member on Teams, because there's really two ways I can reach him, phone or instant messaging using Teams or Slack, and he's not available. I reach out to other people, they flick me to other person, and in a larger organization, it becomes even harder, right? Because knowledge lives in different sources, different people. So with the chatbot, what happens is that you can centralize that. So what I'm talking about here is what is called as simple as a frequently asked question. It's as simple as that, right? How do I install a specific software on my machine? It could be that, where do I access the latest employee handbook? So it could be really simple questions like that. It doesn't have to be like leading to something. It could be like things that you are asking just to do your job. Oh, I cannot log into Microsoft CRM. I cannot log into Salesforce. How do I do that? Who do I contact? So these are common questions that remote workers face every day. Typically, the process involves raising a support ticket, going through a ServiceNow process, sending an email, acknowledging an email. No, I want an answer now. So most of use cases for KLoBot happens around the fact that it's primarily around FAQs, like the ability to kind of KLoBot build chatbot to answer that question. So the examples I gave before, who's the primary contact for human resources team? Oh, it's Mary Jane. And here's the email, here's the phone number. Sure, the person can look it up on Outlook, or you can go hunting for it and eventually find it. But the ease of use, the ease of just going to this one thing and asking this question on your internet or your Teams or your Slack or your phone or any of this medium makes it really easy and yet very powerful. So it's all about employee empowerment. And this is one use case from an employee perspective. There are other use cases from a client perspective. For example, we are working with a law firm here in New York, and it's a very large injury firm. So basically specializing in getting compensation for customers who are severely injured. Major litigation lawsuits happen around that. And often these people are ailing. They have, they're not in a position to kind of run around and ask and interact and so on. A bot becomes so easy. So KLoBot can be used to create a chatbot, a customer service chatbot that can be deployed on a phone number to be more specific, which means that now the customer basically calls a hotline, which is 800 whatever, and KLoBot greets you. Hey, my name is KLoBot. How can I help you? Based on the phone number, we ID the person. KLoBot can send a one-time text as an additional security to confirm who the person is, ask some additional security questions, and boom, now your injury matter, right, that the customer is inquiring about, like when is the next court hearing date, or when can I talk to the attorney next, or schedule an appointment with the attorney that's handling the case. All that stuff can be done just through voice, and KLoBot can schedule that thing or provide that information on the firm's behalf to the customer without the need for any human interaction, right? Now, the obvious question to ask there is, so how is that different than IVR, integrated voice recognition system? So almost every bank has it, every major organization that offers some sort of a make sure service has it. It's a great question to ask, because the key difference between an automated virtual assistant and an integrated voice recognition platform is that an automated virtual assistant that is built with KLoBot, you can talk to it like how I'm talking to you right now. So it's called natural language processing. So that's kind of the in thing right now, where human beings don't really respond in commands. Press 1 to continue. Say this word to continue. And if you say something, it goes, did you mean this? And it's super annoying. So with natural language processing coupled with KLoBot's ability to connect with all these different applications to provide the answers, both from a customer service perspective, both from an employee engagement perspective, communication perspective, that's where we see most of the use cases for our projects with KLoBot.
Excellent. So continuing on the use cases, do you find certain industries or certain functions or certain size of companies matter where you could use your KLoBot software or KLoBot platform?
Yeah, I think we traditionally, KLST works with over 16 AM law firms. We are extremely fortunate and grateful for these firms to trust us. So AM Law basically is a prestigious list of some of the top law firms in the world. So we work with these firms, and because of their history, KLoBot has primarily become today somewhat of a de facto legal chatbot builder platform, as opposed to just being a chatbot builder platform. Right? We are the only chatbot builder platform today for legal and professional services. In fact, we are the only proven legal chatbot builder platform for this legal industry. So yes, we are very legal and professional services industry focused, primarily because of the fact that we understand the industry, we understand some of the problems people have, the myriad of applications, a lot of applications that exist in this industry, and the inability for people to kind of navigate that horrendous landscape of applications and simplifying all that into just one simple interface. We specialize in that within the legal. Now, outside of legal, we have done work for sports media entertainment. Some of the leading, one of the leading sports authorities in the world uses our product to create chatbots that is both customer facing as well as focus on players and coaches. It's an inward facing. We also have customers in telecommunications. The Gartner one, in fact, a Gartner ranked number one, first quadrant, Magic Quadrant 1. A customer in that quadrant uses our product for basically spinning off chatbots with no code for HR self-service. So the example I gave you on new employee induction, hey, where do I find this? Where do I find that? Where's the latest policy procedure document? How much leave do I have? All the good stuff. They call it My HR Bot, and that's deployed on the HR SharePoint side of their intranet. But so telecommunications, media, entertainment, but our key focus is legal and professional service.
Now let's talk about some of the users. Now you mentioned the journey starts typically with an IT guys, but when you mentioned about the law firms, and especially with FAQs, I would assume that it's a kind of an extension of your knowledge management system, the way you would use the information available in your knowledge repositories and exchange that information and make that information available to people. Who are typically, beyond the IT guys, who are typically the people who use KLoBot and design these platforms? What would be a typical profile of this?
Yeah, it's great question. So remember, KLoBot is a bot builder platform. Right, so it's commonly misunderstood. KLoBot is not the bot itself. So KLoBot can churn out or spit out bots that are used by anyone for that matter. It could be a tech user, it could be a business user. So if I can just clarify the question, who the audience for building KLoBot, like typically the clients we work with. So typically, because we work with the legal, a lot of the people who build chatbots, this is very important. There's a key distinction for our software versus other software products in the market. Our software is used by knowledge attorneys and knowledge managers to create chatbots. So these are non-technical people with some technical know-how. But what they know about is how knowledge flows in the firm, how knowledge is used by different parties in the firm, and what kind of knowledge is useful for the firm. So that's what they know about. And KLoBot is all about sharing and processing knowledge, information, right? So the beauty of our product is that we have this amazing do-it-yourself canvas where you can literally drag and drop and configure yourself, literally a chatbot within minutes, right? A sophisticated bot can take a little bit longer, but for the most part, if you're creating a very simple bot where you want to connect to a knowledge source, get some information, train the bot, and then release this bot onto Teams, for example, or Slack, literally soup to nuts can take you less than 30 minutes. So this bot is designed for a business user by a business user. And that's what makes it so unique. And that's one of the reasons it's our secret sauce for selling within the legal, because as you already know, legal and professional services, they are very slim on IT resources. Typically, IT is overwhelmed with projects. And so there's one more project they definitely don't want to take on, right? Or they cannot take on. So with the right audience, typically business users are the bot builders within KLoBot, right? They build a bot, they deploy the bot using our amazingly intuitive UI, and they even train users on the bot and ensure adoption.
So staying on that topic, let's illustrate a bit more. Let's articulate a bit more on what happens. So, for example, a law firm says, "Yeah, we want to use your KLoBot." Do you guys then end up giving trainings to individuals how to use them? Do they have to go through some sort of a boot camp? What happens there?
So typically the process goes this way, right? So the firm IDs a couple of use cases. They say that, you know what, the most common use case of practice support, like the most common, right? Where attorneys need information or have questions and they just need answers, right? They just immediate gratification. And there's not much negotiation on that. Immediate literally means within minutes. So typically the process is the attorney basically goes and places a call, shoots an email, and waits for a human to respond. Now these FAQs are pretty typically well documented, right? So these are questions and answers that firm has created, the knowledge management team has created over the years. This might be stored in SharePoint, might be stored in a DMS platform, like a document management system platform, might be online on some repository, like an online repository, but it's there, right? So typically the workflow happens pre-KLoBot is that the attorney places a call, a human takes the call, the human searches those knowledge spaces, and somehow they respond back to the attorney is satisfied, and that's the end of the practice support FAQ. Now, as simple as it sounds, there are humans involved, right? And again, KLoBot is not about eliminating humans. It's about streamlining the process so that the human can add a higher value within the value chain. So with KLoBot in the mix, a chatbot, the attorney doesn't have to send an email or phone call. They just have to go to KLoBot, the chatbot, which you build with KLoBot. The chatbot is automatically connected through our connectors with all these different platforms. We have a number of connectors we ship, like Salesforce connector, ServiceNow connector, legal systems connector, Elite, Adrin, iManage, NetDocs. We have a number of connectors, SQL Server. So a number of connectors we ship that KLoBot can just seamlessly connect to these sources and get the data. So typically what happens is that most of the engagement starts at, look, we have this problem. Can KLoBot help us with this? To streamline this process of helping an attorney get the instant gratification, instant answer, and move on. And that's where most of the project starts. So a project starts, the brief comes in, we show the product. Within 20 minutes or so, the customer can appreciate how powerful the platform is. And most importantly, they appreciate how they don't need IT to build a chatbot. And most importantly, the IT person appreciates how they don't need to be involved for the business to build a chatbot once it's deployed. So that's where the magic starts. So with the demo, and then once we start the project, typically we get a couple of proof of concept skills for us to build. Its skills are basically bot abilities, what the bot can do, right? One bot ability might be to connect to all the sources and get the information. One bot ability might be apply for leave. One bot ability to check weather, for example, or check the latest news from CNN. So the idea is that we basically configure these bot abilities. We call them skills. Typically, it's a couple of them. We don't start with a big bang. We'll start with like one or two small ones. Also, a bot is like a baby, right? So when a bot is born through KLoBot, you have to train it. So you have to train with how people speak with different accents, how people talk via text with different words. Like, for example, hello might be also hiya, can be hola. Right, can be different languages, right? So the bot has to be trained on all that. So there has to be training data fit to the bot, and there's a process, right? So there's no magic wand where you say that, you know what, I build a bot, I go live. Typically, sure, you can do that, but the bot would not understand most of the dialects, most of the way people normally talk. So the training data becomes essential for the bot. And once a bot is trained in some sort of a sandbox for, like, say, a week, the bot basically becomes mature enough to handle a mass conversation for a firm of, say, 2,000 employees, where out of 2,000 might be 1,200 attorneys might exist. This is a firm we are working with right now. And the attorneys can literally say anything they want, and the bot would basically try to understand what the person said because of the training data and make sense of it using machine learning, basically artificial intelligence, to make sense, answer the question, and that's how a typical simple engagement works for KLoBot. So building a bot is minutes. Training the bot and making sure the bot works the way it should and reacts the way it should, probably a week. So some two soup to nuts, you're looking at like a week of work to launch your first basic, like a support bot.
Yeah, that's super fascinating. Let's talk about a bit more about the kind of business cases companies would create, because at the face of it, I'm sure a lot of our viewers would be saying this is exciting, but let's also talk about the business cases they have to create, the organizational inertia they need to overcome.
So a lot of business cases, some of them I mentioned before, right? Let me elaborate a couple more. Let me cite a couple of business cases for outside of legal, and then I'll come back to legal. So within the telecommunications, one of the major workflows that we are looking at right now is towers. Cannot be more important than ever in pandemic, right? You cannot live without a mobile tower, right? We don't even notice it. But remember, without the mobile tower out there, you can't talk to anyone, you can communicate with anyone through this amazing device called a mobile phone or tablet. So those mobile towers are even more important than ever, right, for these telecommunication giants. And this client of ours, we are working on a really cool bot, right, where the bot does two things, where the bot basically starts a, kind of a tower repair workflow, if I want to call it in a very loose way. Basically, the idea is that if there's an outage reported at a tower or some mechanical issues or some issues reported at a tower, the bot is being trained right now using our amazing kind of workflow builder. So we have within our bot builder canvas, you can actually design a flow. You can actually design, like, when you report an outage, what happens, right? Who does it go to? Who? So you can design a flow using our skill builder. And basically the idea behind that use case is if there's a tower outage in a specific area, it finds a nearby technician. It automatically sends an email to the person without any human intervention whatsoever, and basically raises a ticket in the ticketing system of that customer service now, and basically drives the entire workflow from soup to finish, soup to nuts. The idea is that you report the outage, you assign a technician, you get the outage resolved over a course of X hours or days, and then you track the ticket to completion. So the whole process will be automated with KLoBot. That's a use case which we are currently building, where the bot now is no longer like a chatbot, right? The bot is evolved into something more of like an assistant, right? So where it's doing things on your behalf, it's reminding you to do things, or it's pulling you into a workflow because you're part of a specific support team or whatnot, and assigning you a task and tracking the task and updating your authoritative systems, which is ServiceNow or any of those ticketing platforms, and making sure that the ticket is resolved and the entire workflow is completed, soup to nuts. Great use case. So we're working on that right now. One more use case within the sports and media entertainment. This is a big one, actually. Most sports authorities in the world have something called a collective bargaining agreement. Now, collective bargaining agreements are very important documents, right? So basically they define how at a crux, it defines what the player gets paid and how they negotiate their salaries and the code of conduct and discipline. A lot of good things are defined. It's typically a collective bargaining document could be 300 to 400 pages long. Very, very large document. Most people may not even read it unless you give it to a lawyer who's representing you, or to negotiate the contract with a team or league. They might be reading it. Typically, the player is not aware of it. So with this bot we are designing, we've actually launched already, and we are making some updates. This bot has the ability to parse through that entire information, make sense of it, and basically answer questions on your behalf. Like, for example, you can ask the bot a question like, what is the salary cap? It'll know who I am, which team I belong to because of the profile I'm logged in, and it'll answer that answer from the CBA, right? Or from the collective bargaining agreement document. Or I might ask other questions around code of conduct, discipline, and a lot of different questions without even ever reading the document, right? So this is a great example of how a bot can be used to kind of learn a lot of content and then make sense of it, and then let users interact with the bot without necessarily going through the entire content sources, right? Coming back to legal, we are working on this really cool integration right now for this major AIM law firm in Midwest in the US, where we are building something called an autonomous administrator bot. And what this bot does is basically becomes an extension of the attorney, right? So most attorneys spend a lot of time doing administrative work either directly or through a personal assistant. Now, the most annoying job, including within my own company, KLSC, is timesheet. Nobody likes doing timesheet, but timesheet is essential because that's how the company runs. That's how you send out your bills to customers, and so that people report time on projects and how matter in a law firm, and then you take that and you create an invoice. So with KLoBot, you can basically use KLoBot as a virtual assistant, which means that you tap on the bot in Teams, or you place a call, or you text the bot and say, enter time, right? And the bot will say, John. So it'll automatically know who you are, and it'll say, sure, which client, which matter, what is the description, which day. So automatically it'll enter time on your behalf without you going to that timesheet application, putting time and blah, blah, blah. So it takes off that piece of unnecessary or admin work, or necessary, but admin work time out of the attorney so that he can bill more time to his clients. That's just one simple example, but yet very powerful example of how a bot can be used to be an extension of the attorney to do admin work, right? And the list goes on and on. For example, I'm a reporter sitting on a cab, right? This is something we are currently building, and I want to have a quick access contracts that the firm has done for a major financial institution that involves a bankruptcy matter. Typically, you would do that by placing a call to a physical person. The physical person may or may not be available, and the person has to scramble through many documents and sources and physically grab the document electronically and then email that person that file. It can take a very long time. So with KLoBot, you literally ask, okay, find me the latest documents for this client and for this type of matter. And boom, KLoBot will just ping you, boom, 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 4 or 5 documents. You tap on it, open it, you're reading in the cab, right? Other use cases we are driving are things like automatic creation of documents based on templates. For example, I'm going to a client. I want the client to sign an NDA, or the vice versa. I want to sign the client's NDA, right? With KLoBot, you can just tell the chatbot, hey, do we have an NDA with this client? KLoBot will say, no, I can't find any NDA. Do you want me to create one? You tap yes. And KLoBot automatically creates a document based on a previous NDA with this client, or an NDA template in your document management software, and presents the document to you integrated with DocuSign for e-signature, right? This is an actual use case we are doing right now, where all this stuff can be literally done through a power of your phone call or a text message, right? No app, just a phone call to a phone number or a text message to a phone number. Or obviously, you can access this on your Teams app or Slack app or any of those apps. So those are some of the use cases that we are driving within this industry.
That's really fascinating. Now let's talk about a bit of the financials. I'm sure a lot of our viewers would want to, what would it cost them to get a KLoBot for their organization?
So that's a great question. So we've designed our platform for success. We believe that what we have is a game changer. It's a disruptor. It's a new way of working. It's a new way of offering information to people. It's a new way of getting information on specific types of clients matter, customers, and so on. So we believe that the risk of entry should be low. So KLoBot today, it does not cost you anything to install KLoBot in your environment. KLoBot pricing is based on usage, and we designed it in a way that if you're successful, we are successful. If you're launching a bot that is highly adopted, used by many users within your organization, and a lot of people are finding it fascinating and using it, and more, you pay us based on usage. So again, it doesn't cost you anything to install KLoBot, but we charge by we have two pricing models. We have KLoBot Standard, which is a 10 cents per message pricing, which means that, again, it doesn't cost you anything to install the software or host, we can host it for you. Basically, as you use our software, as you send messages to KLoBot and KLoBot responds back to us, back to your user, you get charged. So it's 10 cents per message for a standard version. Standard version gives you up to 10 bots. It doesn't give you a premium connector. So premium connectors are connectors to SQL Server, Salesforce, ServiceNow, a lot of these connectors we've designed. And we have enterprise version, which is 20 cents a message, where you can get basically everything, right? So typically that equates to around $1,000 a month as an entry point for KLoBot Standard, which is typically, kind of a low-end price point for larger firms, or $2,000 as a price entry point, right? So approximately $12,000 a year or $24,000. From a benchmark perspective, you get approximately 10,000 messages per month, 120,000 messages per year. Depending on the version, it will cost you, for 120,000 messages, either $12,000 or $24,000 based on the edition. Based on some of the benchmarks we've done, is 10,000 messages a month enough? Depends. For example, if you're starting a POC and a very small kind of let's try this out. It's a new way of working, right? It's a new way of thinking. Yeah, sure. Your adoption might be slow to begin with. If you're a 500 people firm, and let's assume that 30 people use it to begin with, so you might consume half of 10,000, right? So other clients we've seen like around 5,000 messages for like 20, 30 people. But as adoption grows, your message consumption grows. So as the message consumption grows, we work with you to kind of evaluate what kind of packs you would need. We sell KLoBot message packs in increments of 10,000. So if you want to add on, say, a 10,000 increment pack, say next month, because you project a higher usage. You pay us $2,000 or $1,000 depending on the edition you're on, and you buy that additional pack. The good news here is that we don't really keep track of your messages like per month. We are a little bit lenient there. So typically you have 10,000 messages per month, 120,000 messages for the whole year. Typically with our customers, we work with them to make sure the adoption grows because this is a disruptive technology. So if you're exceeding that 120,000 messages, which is the entire year's quota, that's good news for you because your bot strategy is working. At that point, we evaluate what the next messaging pack add-on should be for the customer.
Yeah, this is a disruptive idea, absolutely for sure.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges organizations are likely to face, as you explained, during the adoption stages?
The biggest challenge to adoption is humans, right? So often bots are perceived as human replacement. I do not view the world like that, right? Many humans fear that, look, this is a replacement for me. This is going to take my job. And that's the biggest fear. Outside of the fact that the consumers who love KLoBot, because the bots that it spits out does amazing things for them, which they often have to do, like time entry, for example, which I talked about. So the biggest typically hindrances we get from humans, right, who are not willing to have a technology like this because of fear of loss of job. So the way we tackle that is typically we believe that recurring events, recurring tasks, these are better handled in a more automated way, right? You don't need a physical person remind you have a meeting coming up or scheduling meetings in a calendar, or doing things on your behalf, like sending you a document, the way I described it. So that human can be repurposed to do bigger, higher strategic value things in your organization, whereas the bot is basically doing this. So typically our hindrance is around that, right? So the inability to maybe connect with what exactly the bot does from a value add-on perspective to communication, collaboration, content delivery perspective, and where the human adds value from a communication, content delivery perspective. There is a space for both of them. I do not believe, not even for a second, we believe that chatbots replaces, or virtual agents, basically bots replace humans. It's not supposed to be. Bots empower humans. And humans ascend to the next level in terms of where they add value in the chain. So that's one of the areas. The other areas is this training, right? So bot training is essential. Like as I said before, like I have small kids, and over the years, right, we teach them many different skills, right? Do this, do that, do this way. Respond to certain ways we talk. Don't talk like this, talk like that. A bot is no different. It's surprisingly similar. In fact, it's exactly the same, right? Being a father of two, I see that training a bot is very similar to training a human child, right? You have to feed the bot information. You have to give it sampling data. You have to tell it how to behave when it doesn't understand. For example, if I ask a question, okay, find me a document for this client, Citibank and matter XY 3457. The bot should not come out and say, I don't understand. That'll be the kind of the end of that adoption cycle for that particular user, because the user is not going to lose the trust with them. So instead, what we do is we take those failed scenarios, right? Within KLoBot Bot Builder, you have the ability to take the failed scenarios and you have the ability to retrain the bot with new utterances and new examples of how you handle those scenarios, right, where the bot couldn't understand what the user said. That's one big area we see as not just with KLoBot, but any chatbot builder platform, this being an issue where the bot is unable to understand what the human actually said, or worst, it understands what the human said, it gives a false information, right, or wrong information, right? Like, how's the weather in Amsterdam? And it comes back and says, here's the latest news from CNN, right? That'll be disastrous, right? So that's where, and we suffer from this. We suffer from this with Alexa, Siri. So KLoBot-based bots have these kind of, I don't want to call them hindrance or put a negative spin, but training data is essential for the bot success, right? So that's absolutely critical.
Since you're an expert in this space, what do you think the future will unfold for us in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so these answers could be very controversial, but I genuinely believe that software products like KLoBot that you use to create chatbots, and there are many other amazing products out there that you can use to create chatbots. Chatbots are enablers. They are an extension of a human. They basically free up time for humans to focus on better, bigger things. As I said before, nobody likes doing time entry. If I can take 15 minutes of my day out of time entry and reallocate that to making some sales calls, I might actually have a better shot at improving the sales pipeline for my own organization, right? Or 30 minutes or whatever it takes to do time. So a chatbot is supposed to free up to some extent time. We sometimes often people use chatbot or virtual assistant interchangeably. They're actually quite different, by the way. KLoBot can create both chatbots and virtual assistant. Typically a chatbot is just for giving and receiving information. A virtual assistant can do things on a behalf. Our platform can do both, by the way. We can create a chatbot and a virtual assistant. So my answer right now is both for chatbot and virtual assistants, right? So a chatbot / virtual assistant basically is all about freeing the human time to focus on bigger, better things. Next 5 years, I see more and more software bots integrated into our lives. I mean, Alexa has taken over, right? We can all see Amazon Alexa. It's always listening, right? So that's the worst. So if you're talking, magically you get recommendations in Amazon, right? So they're listening to what you're saying. Is it bad? Is it good? I don't know, right? So because often it's good to kind of go to Amazon and see the products that you actually want to purchase right there rather than searching for it. So I actually see bots getting integrated into human life. And more importantly, with KLoBot, we see bot invasion within enterprise. Right now, if you look at a bell curve, we believe that chatbots and virtual assistants are at the bottom of this bell curve, like at the beginning bottom of the bell curve, right? There's many other disrupting technologies, like, especially if you take legal professional services, there are many disruptive technologies in this top of the bell curve and going towards the bottom, like especially around practice automation, litigation support, and many things. But chatbot, for some bizarre reason, we believe is at right at the start of the bell curve. So we are not even at the beginning of the revolution. So when the revolution happens, products like KLoBot basically can spit out chatbots that frees you up as a human to do bigger, better things, focus on buildability, to do other things. Also automation, right? So we believe that, for example, depending on the car, a lot of cars today do autonomous driving, do natural language responses. Like before, like if you drive high-end cars like BMW, Mercedes, they had these commands you have to give, otherwise the car would not understand. Today, with GM cars, you can talk to it. You can literally talk like a human and the car will understand. Even the Mercedes has introduced a natural language-based bot integrated with your car that you can talk to it, right? You can talk like a human and hey, Mercedes, adjust my lights to green, and it understands. It doesn't have to be the exact commands. So chatbots and virtual assistants are going to be integrated into our life. It's already part of our life with Alexa, Siri, and Cortana, and with all these other bots from Tesla and GM and Mercedes and BMW. But it's going to be tightly integrated to the extent that we just won't notice these as separate extensions of us. I believe that it's going to be part of our life. And it's here to stay, and it's actually going to get better or bigger, if you will, the revolution.
Absolutely. I think this next 5 years is going to be fascinating with technology disruptions taking place. I'm sure some of our listeners and viewers would like to continue this dialogue with you. What's the best way that they can connect with you?
The best source of information is our website, www.klobot.ai. There are a lot of videos there. Please watch them. They are great, amazing. So if you go to klobot.ai/videos, amazing videos, talks about a lot of the business use cases that I presented today. Outside of that, they can always reach me. My email is my first name, Ragav at KLoBot.ai or Ragav at KLSTINC.com. So you can always email me. You can look me up on LinkedIn. So my LinkedIn is /in/RAGAV. So linkedin.com/in/RAGAV. So connect with me. Connect with me on these platforms. You can follow me on Twitter. I have some followers. I try to post whatever information I can get which are interesting on my Twitter, which is at RAGAVJ. So you can connect me with all these different mediums.
We're going to put them in the description box down below for the YouTube channel as well as for the podcast. Ragav, it was absolutely fascinating having this interview today. I learned a lot. I'm sure our viewers and listeners would have also learned about the fascinating aspects of KLoBot, about how to build chatbots which are going to facilitate their day-to-day working lives in different industries. So with that, thanks a ton again, Ragav, and hope to see you again in the future.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Stay safe. Thank you.
So this is what we had in store for you today. I hope you enjoyed the discussion as much as I did interviewing Ragav Jagannathan. So if you liked today's episode, then do not forget to press the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Till next time, bye-bye.